Hello dear learners, in today's video we are going to talk about the mechanism of action of antithyroid drugs. Now in our earlier video we have covered the classification of antithyroid drug. So according to the classification there are 4 classes. First is inhibiting the hormone synthesis, which includes all thioamides. Second is inhibiting iodide trapping, which includes ionic inhibitors. Third is inhibiting hormone release, which includes iodine, iodides of sodium, potassium and organic iodides. And last class is destruction of thyroid tissue itself by radioactive iodine. So to talk about the mechanism of each class, we will go towards the process first, which we have seen about the synthesis. Now see, these are the this diagram which we have seen in the synthesis of thyroid hormone. This will tell you the specific sites which antithyroid drugs will target. Now if you will recall this diagram, first from endoplasmic reticulum thyroglobulin is getting secreted, then by exocytosis thyroglobulin is coming to the lumen of the thyroid follicle, then again from the blood iodides are getting trapped by the thyroid follicle, and these iodides are getting released into the colloid of the lumen of the thyroid follicle through the pendrine channel, through the pendrine which is the driving which acts as a driver for iodides. Now this site here, iodide trapping can get inhibited. Then next there can be a destruction of thyroid follicular cell itself, so that other processes will not happen. Or here there can be one target site, that this oxidation can be prevented by inhibiting the enzyme peroxidase, which is responsible for oxidation of iodine, means which is responsible for oxidation of iodide to iodine. This conjugation step can get inhibited, like this step will not residue of thyroglobulin. Proteolysis of thyroxine and triiodothyronine will get released into the bloodstream. So the targets are like iodide trapping is there, then preventing the oxidation is there, then preventing the binding of tyrosine residue can be there, then inhibiting the proteases enzyme and inhibiting this proteolysis is possible. At the ultimate is destruction of thyroid cell also is possible. So we will see now which class is responsible for which mechanism. So coming towards the diagram, this diagram will show you where the classes of drugs are acting. Now according to the classification, the first, which inhibits the hormone synthesis, these are also called as thioamides, which includes methimazole, carbimazole and propyl thiouracil. So coming towards the first class, that is thioamides, the first point is they will bind to the peroxidase enzyme, and by binding to the peroxidase enzyme they will prevent the oxidation of iodide, which will convert the oxidation step, it will convert it to iodine, and preventing oxidation iodine of tyrosine residue of thyroglobulin, and as well as they are responsible for inhibiting the coupling of iodotyrosyl residue. That means according to this schematic, if you will see, first step is peroxidase and preventing the oxidation, then inhibiting the iodination and inhibiting the coupling. So this is the target area for thioamides to act. These will prevent the oxidation by binding to the peroxidase enzyme, then they will prevent the iodination of this tyrosyl residue, then the another one is they will inhibit the coupling of iodotyrosyl residue. That means here this coupling of tyrosyl residue which occurs through will be inhibited. The target areas for thioamide drugs. So carbimazole and methimazole have this mechanism of action. propylthiouracil will also have an additional action, that it will inhibit the peripheral conversion of thyroxine to triiodothyronine. That means it will inhibit the conversion of T4 to T3. Now here this peripheral tissues will convert T4 to T3. So this step will get inhibited by thioamides. Whereas this action, that is preventing the conversion or inhibiting the conversion of T4 to T3, is not shown by methimazole and carbimazole. Then coming towards the next class, that is, if you will see the classification, the next class is inhibits the iodine trapping, that is ionic inhibitors, which includes thiocyanates, perchlorates and nitrates. So coming towards the ionic inhibitors such as potassium thiocyanates and perchlorates, they will inhibit the iodide trapping by the thyroid gland. Now iodide trapping which occurs at this stage, which you can see by sodium iodide importers, this iodine will get trapped inside the thyroid follicle, and through pendrine channel they will come to the colloid of the thyroid follicle, colloid region of the lumen of the thyroid follicle. So this iodide trapping which is done by the thyroid follicular cell, this iodide trapping will get inhibited. So this class will act by inhibiting the iodide trapping, and they are also called as ionic inhibitors. The next class according to the classification is inhibiting the hormone release. Now the drugs or antithyroids which inhibits the hormone release, that is thyroid hormones release, are iodine, iodides of sodium and potassium, and organic iodide. So how they are acting we will see now. So according to the third class, which inhibits the hormone release, includes iodine and iodides, they will inhibit the thyroglobulin proteolysis. So as again you can see here in the image, thioamides were acting at this portion, then iodide trappers are acting at this portion. Now this class, that is inhibiting the hormone release, will act at proteolysis step. They will inhibit the enzyme proteases, and since this proteolysis only is inhibited, this globulin residue and this thyroid hormones will not get separated, and because of the inhibition of the separation or inhibition of the proteolysis by the enzyme proteases, this thyroid hormones will not get separated and they will not be available for the release into the circulation. So this was the mechanism of inhibit the drugs, antithyroid drugs, which was inhibiting the hormone release. That means, as the word suggests, hormone release, they are working on the release of the hormone. Now coming towards the last class, which includes radioactive iodine. The only isotope of radioactive iodine used is iodine 131. There are other isotopes also which are used, but the main used is iodine 131. So this radioactive iodine works by this mechanism. How it works? First, this radioactive iodine will get rapidly absorbed by the thyroid gland, and after absorption into the thyroid gland, it will get concentrated over there, and this concentration into the thyroid gland will lead to the deposition of the radioactive iodine in the colloid of the follicle, and due to this deposition, this will emit the gamma and beta radiations. Now as you all know, they have great penetrating powers as well. They have characteristic properties. So this penetrating power can be used as the destruction of thyroid gland, and this gamma rays which are emitted, they can be utilized as the determination test, like they are used in the thyroid function test. So thyroid functioning can be determined by the gamma emission, and beta radiations will destroy the thyroid glands. Destructive effect on the thyroid gland is of beta radiations. So this way, this radioactive iodine will act on the virtue of the property of the radioactivity, it will emit the radiations called as gamma and beta, and this beta radiations will destroy the thyroid glands. So this is the destructive effect which is of radioactive iodine. So now if you will compare this in the diagram, so thioamides are acting on these processes: oxidation, iodination and conjugation. Then iodide trappers are acting at this step where the iodide is not getting trapped. Then this proteolysis step is also the target step. This, because of this proteolysis inhibition, this will not get separated and thyroid hormones will not be released. So this is the mechanism of inhibiting the hormone release class. And radioactive iodine, that is iodine 131, will concentrate in the colloid of the thyroid follicle or thyroid lumen region, and because of the accumulation it will emit the radiations, and that both radiations on the virtue of the property of radioactivity, they can be utilized. One is utilized in testing the thyroid functioning and one is utilized in the destruction of thyroid cells. So with this we finish with the mechanism of action of antithyroid drugs. And if you will compare the structure, see, this is methimazole, carbimazole and propyl thiouracil. So methimazole, carbimazole, thia group is there, methima, this is for thia, again thia, and amides, this NHCO is there, NCO is there. So these are thioamides. With this we finish with the mechanism of action of antithyroid drugs. So this diagram will give you a summary of mechanism of action of antithyroid drugs. So first, if you will start from the iodide trapping, the thiocyanate and perchlorates will act at this step where the iodide is getting transported through the sodium iodide importers. So this step will be inhibited by this iodide or iodine trappers. And second is thioamides class. So this will act on the peroxidase enzyme, which will prevent the oxidation, and along with it is also acting on the conjugation. And propyl thiouracil is again acting on this step, that is peripheral conversion. Next is iodides and thioamides. Again they are having the effect on the thyroid gland. So this iodine will not be received by thyroglobulin. That means iodine and thyroglobulin, which should be combined, that combination will not occur. So this step will get inhibited, and iodides are again working on the proteolysis mechanism, where there is no breakdown between the globulin and the thyroid hormones. And since because of inhibition of this step, thyroid hormones will not be released. So this is the cumulative mechanism of action of antithyroid drugs. With this we finish with the mechanism of action of antithyroid drugs. Thank you.